Hello, Abigail here with the astrology and tarot energy reading for the new moon in Cancer. This is pretty much the most benefic moon of 2025. I will kind of give a little caveat here. I think with the way the astrology is working out, I think what happens during this new moon and the things that we have intentions around and our desires and the seeds that we plant, incredible growth, possibility for success, do abundance spells, do things that, are going to help you progress. I am not sure that all of us are going to feel good on the day of. It's one of those tricky ones where there's such incredible astrology, but there's also a lot of complexities, which is actually how most lunations work. But to get into the nitty gritty, this is on the 25th of June, and it is at 10:55 a.m. EST time. So there's a lot happening. Firstly, this is the domicile moon. Cancer moons are usually some of the best moons of the year, unless there's something really funky going on, just because they are the only sign, Cancer is the only sign that is ruled by the moon. And while exalted is great, which is Taurus, you can't really beat a domicile moon. There's a sense of safety and security and just wholeness within a Cancer moon that is really hard to replicate. I had a sibling who passed, Charles, who was a Cancer new moon person, and new moons in Cancer always remind me of him. Deeply complex, but there's a lot of going on, but like deeply kind and funny and silly. And yes, a traumatized Cancer can be rough. My sibling was traumatized just like I am, but there is a wholesomeness and a generosity that I find that are, within the Cancer kind of zeitgeist being, that are really delicious to experience. So that is what is in this moon. It is a delicious whole meal of cosmic blessings. There are some things that are going to make this a little tricky, but let's look at the stuff that really makes this sing. So starting off, we have, of course, the moon, the sun conjunct, because it is a new moon. I always like to remind people, because sometimes astrology can feel confusing, but it's actually really simple. People just people just don't explain it simply a lot of times. New moon, sun and moon together. Full moon, sun and moon opposing each other on opposite sides of the chart. Like that's, not to over explain, but the sun is reflecting off of the moon. The moon doesn't really have its own light. So really beautiful, really gorgeous. New moon, this is about beginnings and starting and activation and setting things off. You can release on a new moon. I think it depends on the quality of the new moon. A lot of detriment new moons are great for releasing, clearing space to put something in at the same time. Just like you can start something on a full moon if release is what is required to do something. Like you can start a business on a new moon, but you can also release an offering on a full moon. So just everything is nuanced. You don't have to follow the rules. If you have a unique chart, there's a unique response to this energy. Anyways, what's really great is the Jupiter conjunction. This moon is at 4 degrees of Cancer. Jupiter is at 3. It's a really tight conjunction. Jupiter is exalted. Jupiter in Gemini was in detriment. So this is a vastly different energy and vibe. This is about abundance and care, and not just having hopes and dreams that exist and that we love, which is great, but it's about hopes and dreams that are life-giving to us, that are matched to our needs and desires. I don't think there are any bad hopes and dreams, but I think, speaking from personal experience, I've had hopes and dreams that, looking back, if I had gotten them, they just don't fit the person that I am and the place I would have been in life when I would have received them. And so it's a really safe space to speak desires into place, to do an abundance ritual, to call in something, because the stuff that this moon is bringing up is just naturally for our best interest. Jupiter wants what's best for us. Not that it didn't in Gemini, but Jupiter has an interesting sense of humor in Gemini. But everything is kind of for our benefit on this one. There's no like hard stuff is good type deal here. It's very much what you desire and ask for on this moon is very likely to come to fruition. And not only that, it's likely to happen in such a way that it is not just good, but creates more than you could have imagined. So that's lovely. And I'm excited for that. Now, the kind of trickier stuff that we have kind of neutral zone, we have a Mars sextile. So Mars in Virgo is sextile this at 4 degrees. So this is close to an exaction. I didn't check the planetary minutes, but it's close. So a lot of good work gets done. A lot of the kind of action that you're taking is actually in alignment with the function of what's happening, because Virgo is very much about function. And when you have a sextile, there's a harmony to it. So there's a lot of harmony with what you are doing within what you are putting things in. So it's really about following instinct. If something isn't working around this new moon, ask yourself what your instinct is. And I'm not saying like what your trigger is or what you would do under pressure, but like what path makes sense to you in the moment. And a lot of you are going to find that that path actually does make sense. It's not just it's not just a silly goofy idea that we came up for in a moment of desperation. So really trust your instincts, look for what is available to you and take what is available. I'm going to talk about this more when we get to the cards, but I draw the cards ahead of time so I can kind of see some nuance in what's happening. So we'll get there, but there's a lot about understanding the context that you're functioning in and being able to use that, not to be like, oh no, I can't get the things I want because the world is garbage. But this is what I have. These are the things that I need. And here's a plan to get those, or at least to get some of them, and to see what happens as that kind of rolls out. So there's a lot of hope and function and practicality. There's also a lot of expansive dreaming. And we have a square to Neptune, a bit of delusion. Maybe there's a part of us that are looking, that are seeing a little too clearly with that Saturn conjunction. But Neptune also in a square allows us to believe in stuff that is probably impossible, but is not impossible under the energy of a Neptune square. And people with Neptune squares, depending on the planet, can do some of the wildest things you've ever seen. I have a Mercury Neptune square. I say the wildest things sometimes, and they end up being true. And I blindly trust them. It's that energy of being like, I don't have any frame of reference for this, but it's going to work. And I can say that because it's also an Aries Mercury. So Neptune's an Aries, that's an Aries. Yeah, so it's about being like, it looks impossible. I have a lot of naysayers. Maybe I can't do it, but I'm going to do it anyways. And that's really, the squares can be difficult. And that's why I said I think we might feel a little funky on this moon, because we are sitting in that kind of tense situation with squares. Squares are, of the quality of Mars. They're activating, which I had a discussion with a friend of mine recently. If you don't have squares, you don't get stuff done, period, full stop. Like, trines are great and lovely, but trines are those people that either just kind of happily, circumstantially end up in places, but anytime something difficult happens, they're like, I have no tools. Or just, people who struggle to get things started. Having some squares in your chart is absolutely essential to overcoming difficulty. So we are going to be able to overcome something. Is it going to be easy? Is it going to be simple? No. But we are going to have what we need to do that, because Saturn's also in a square, and Saturn squares can be hard. Saturn reminds us of our limitations. It reminds us of, where our beliefs are and how they are in juxtaposition to other things in the world. But the Saturn square, I'm actually really happy for, because this is longevity. And I will give a little prediction for all of us. It may seem like a long time, but in 7 years, give a look back to this moon. You say, Abigail, why 7 years? Because Saturn will be in Cancer around these degrees in 7-ish years. And I think you're going to be really startled and pleasantly surprised about what came from this moment in time. So lock that in. I know we're all like 7 years is so long ago. It's going to fly by, unfortunately for a lot of us. But just log that away. 7 years, see what's happened with these hopes and dreams that you have. But yeah, early degrees, Saturn is helping us get stuff done, but Saturn's also asking real questions. Saturn is, especially in Aries, being like, subvert this shit. You're not going to be able to do things the normal way, but you're going to do things the way, very much Mars in Virgo, ruling this Saturn, in a way that works for the way that you function. none of the stuff that happens on this Cancer new moon are going to be stereotypical responses to your situation, to the world. Um, maybe if some of you are going to do well in like a position that's very societally stable, but a lot of this is kind of for the stuff that normally wouldn't work, that normally wouldn't get legs. Get some fun little legs during this lunation. So buckle up, enjoy that, appreciate that. Just recognize that none of this is going to kind of pan out on a regular path. I do encourage you to do some kind of spell work on this moon. There's so much going for it. And like I said, it's not going to turn out or like function in the way that you thought, but you are going to get the thing. And it's going to be in the way that you need it to be. I think the only thing that I would release is how it happens. But be very specific. Ask for what you want. Ask for a certain amount of money. Ask for a certain salary. Ask for a specific relationship type. Just put down what you want to have at the end or at the middle of whatever this journey is. Don't put down the process. Let the universe take the process on this one, because that square with Neptune and stuff, things are gonna be funky. But put down exactly what you want and watch yourself get it, because this is that type of energy of like, ask and you shall receive. However, Saturn is involved. It will take time, so don't give up on it. A lot of spells work well, especially if you're using a moon, in 6-month increments. So set the spell. I'm going to be doing the Zine Witch, someone on Instagram that I'm friends with, and I do a lot of stuff with them, also autistic. I'm going to be doing their honey jar spell, which is actually on their Instagram, so go check that out. It's also, I believe, on their Patreon in more detail, so pick and choose which one you want to go to. But I'm going to be doing those on this, and you can feed them, you can renew them, you can finish them out after 6 months, but know that this is at least a 6-month journey, if not longer, to the attainment, and then projecting to 7 years that this is the beginning of something really new and wonderful for you, and unexpected, because that square with Neptune, there's not a lot of clarity. You are going to understand what to do in this moment, not what's going to happen long term. So I'm excited. It's very much kind of like putting your money in and not knowing what you're going to get out. And I think there's something very karmically potent and beautiful about that. But let's dive into the tarot, because the tarot has some interesting nuance. This one's not that nuanced. We have the moon card. LOL. It is about the internal world. Now, I do think it's going to have external responses, but a lot of this moon is going to be sitting in, the internal conflict of asking for what you need, sitting in the complexity of whatever situation you're in, being like, wow, I thought this new moon was going to bring me something really kind of unarguably good, and I'm still feeling conflicted. Know that the conflict is of the moment and doesn't change the potency of what you want. It just doesn't. So definitely activate this. This is also a good time to do a honey pot, slightly different than the one I mentioned that B has, but I think in their Patreon they have something similar, to get someone who doesn't like you to like you. And I'm not talking about romantic. I'm talking more like people you're stuck with. So a boss, an in-law, a family member, someone you have to see all the time, and there's just constantly conflict, and you're like, the only reason we're fighting is because you have a chip on your shoulder. Sweeten them. Get them to see you in a more rosy, glorious light. But yeah, this is about the internal world. A lot of us are going to face internal conflict. Know that it doesn't take the legs off of your external desires. It just means that we have to sit in some discomfort in order to really understand and function under this new moon. And also, what's going to happen is, I think some of us are going to be in conflict about what we want to ask the universe for. Is what I want, and maybe something I've been working on a long time, functional with the world and the person I am today? And if it isn't, today is your day to go on to a different path and to ask for something either completely different or slightly different. Don't get so hyper fixated on something happening a certain way that you miss the universe showing you a slightly different way to the same thing, if that makes sense. Saturn squares can cause hyperfixation, and especially later this week, we get a Mercury opposition to Pluto, not quite related to this lunation, but oppositions to Pluto can become moments of hyperfocus. So just know that in this moon with that square to Saturn and that square to Neptune, don't get like so locked in on something that you can't see an easier path, that you can't see a better way to get it. And then we have the King of Wands. Intention isn't everything, but intention for this new moon is important because of those Saturn and Neptune squares, because not everything is going to be clear and obvious. And some stuff that seems obvious is not actually as obvious as you think it is. So, really put desire forward. Also, something that I do to manifest, I am suggesting doing literal, practical things for this, but something I do to manifest when I have inner conflict is feelings. So not only do I want to infuse maybe a dollar amount or a certain salary amount or a certain outcome into my spell work, I want to put how I feel. I want to get, 60K a year, which unfortunately in this climate isn't that much, but for someone in my current position is a lot. But I also want to feel fulfilled and to feel held and to feel accomplished and to feel joy in my work. I don't just want 60K. I want more, which is very much an exalted Jupiter. I want more. I want to feel good about the money I earn. I want to not only have that money, but I want to have enough to give to others. I want to be able to create beautiful things within my labor. And so it's not just 60K, it's 60K and joy. It's 100K and fulfillment. It's, maybe 150K and also a child, to be able to like give birth and be a parent. Ask for more in this moment. Now, if it gets more too complicated, do separate spells, right? Maybe the job and the baby are two separate things, but the job and the fulfillment are the same thing. The relationship and the quality of it are the same thing. Becoming a parent and having a safe labor process, especially if you're disabled or have kind of nuanced needs, that's a part of the same thing. So don't ask for just the thing. Ask for the feelings and the satisfaction and the joy on the other side, because that is a King of Wands. That is Saturn and Aries, right? That is also kind of that expansiveness of Neptune and Aries being like both and. It's very Martian. It's like, I want that and I want that. So do not be afraid to ask for something very specifically practical and material and sustainable for you, but also infuse into that the feelings and the experience, which is very Cancerian, that you want within the context of these attainments. Now, one of the reasons why I said I think this, the sitting in emotionally and physically in the moment of the moon might be a little rough is we do have an Eight of Swords. It may feel very much like in the moment, a lot of the things that you want are impossible. That just the amount of anxiety and worry and just the sheer amount of stuff that would have to happen in order for you to get it feels crippling, feels blocking, feels like you're not going to get it. Do it anyways. Go for it. Do it anyways. Ask to feel a way you may not feel right now. Ask for something that might seem like too big of an ask. This is that moment to believe in more than you were told you deserved, to believe in more than you thought possible for your life, because that is Jupiter in Cancer. It is believing that everything is enough and everyone has enough. And the people who don't believe that that is possible have either been lied to or they are the people who want everything for themselves. And that negates the blessing of the thing that they have, because they are greedy and selfish and weak-minded and cruel. So in the moment, we have to project. We have to believe that more things are possible than we could ever believe. And we also have to believe that not only is that thing possible, but the quality that we deserve is possible. You can also tell my Taurus coming out because I'm like, quality. We can have quantity and we can have quality and we can get all the things, and this is something that I personally struggle with. I struggle Ironically, not in believing that I can't have the stuff that I want to feel, but I always think that I'm going to end up feeling it in an unsafe situation. Not unsafe as in like someone's hurting me, but unsafe as in like I don't have enough money. I don't have a secure place to live because I wasn't raised um, in that type of security, partially because my parents intentionally kept me feeling insecure because they knew how big I was. My parents have always known how powerful I am, and it terrified them. And so, and maybe your situation is different. Maybe you had a caring parent or just a stressed parent who cared about you, and then you didn't have like food and money. And my parents also didn't have food and money, but it was mostly because my dad wanted to spend his stuff on his farm hobby rather than feeding and clothing his children. Thank you, Dr. Dad, who did hobby farming. But yeah, this is about believing that you can have both and that you deserve both and also believing that other people don't have to miss out in order for you to have it. I think a really important part of this moon is not thinking that other people have to be taken down or have to be removed in order for you to get what you want. That's a very colonialist, capitalist thing that is built to keep people who are of the same class and of the same experience and in the same boat. It's to keep you trying to throw your friends overboard so that you can have more, which is there's plenty to go around. And then we have Three of Cups, which is really tying into this theme here, and I think has a lot to do. It is that believing that there's enough for everyone. It's about wishing and hoping that the people that you know and interact with and the people in your sphere are also getting your needs met. Part of your wish is that not only do you get what you deserve, everyone else does. And it's a very powerful thing to wish goodness on the people around you. And I don't believe in the whole like wish goodness on people that hate you type thing. But wish goodness on people who are neutral towards you. Wish goodness on people from different countries and experiences. And believe that, especially if you're working class, poor, underprivileged, that everyone on the level that you're at, which is most of us, deserves everything that they want, deserves food, housing, clothing, these basic human rights, water, clean water. Infuse this belief in everyone else's deservingness, because you can only believe in your deservingness as much as you believe in others. And you can only believe as much in other people's deservingness as much as you believe in your own. Both of those things have to be there for you to be able to do this. And it doesn't have to be a belief that you're constantly firm in. You can struggle to believe that you deserve things, and in this moment be like, nope, putting on the Delulu cap and I deserve these things, which means the person next to me deserves these things. And because they deserve these things, I deserve these things. So interconnect your spell work. It's not just about you. We're wishing, maybe the honey jar is probably just for you, but wishing that for everyone else as well, so that we can all celebrate together, except for the billionaires, because they've already taken way more than they deserve and way more than they should have, and have killed people in the process. And then last but not least, we have the Four of Pentacles. This is about knowing what you have to a certain degree. Knowing what you have and understanding the context. And, some of that might be a little fear-inducing, but if you are going to be Delulu, it's sometimes helpful to know what you're being delusional in contrast to. What harsh reality are you maybe, exploding in your belief? And, knowing what you have doesn't always mean that there's a mindset or a belief in lack. It just means that you're like, you know what? This is what I have, and I want more, and I deserve more, and I should have more, and so should everyone else. So definitely kind of look at what you have, and don't just look on like a physical, practical, material, money level. Look internally. What do you not have right now that you need emotionally? What do you have right now that you don't, that you really desperately even don't have mentally? And infuse that into everything that you're doing around this new moon, and start to change those ideals and beliefs. Neptune is really good for shifting belief. When Neptune hits a certain sign and has certain connections, that's when we see these kind of schools of thought rise up, and modalities of belief and generational kind of flagships for revolution and change. Now's the time to see what we have, say it's not enough, and demand more, and desire more, and ask for more, and believe in more. Sometimes the Four Pentacles can be hoarding, but I think in this context, it's about being like, this is what I have, and I think I need more. This is what I have, and I don't think the system is giving all of us what we need and deserve to have. And I love when people are like, people just want stuff for free. No, bestie, I want the money and the time and the energy that I put into stuff to benefit me as much as the people at the top. And if that happens, then there's not people at the top, which is why they're scared. So yes, you deserve more and you deserve everything. And so does your neighbor, and so does your child, so does your sister, so does someone in a different country, so does someone who speaks a different language and has a different culture and food and stuff. Everyone deserves to have more, except the billionaires and the people who support them. I'm not talking about working class people. I'm talking about politicians or even the working class people, and not just even working class people, regardless of the choices they make, deserve, and poor people and people who can't work deserve to have basic human rights, their basic human needs met, and they also deserve to experience joy, and they deserve to experience pleasure. And so do you, regardless of whatever your situation is. And that is the ethos of this moon. Mic drop. Anyways, my loves, that is my reading. It might feel uncomfortable. I think for a lot of us it is. We're going to have to face some stuff. But within that, we are also going to get to believe in some really beautiful, magical things that are absolutely possible. And we get to start them now. If you enjoy my stuff, please like and subscribe. I wish you all a very blessed new moon in Cancer. If you do moon water, this is a great time to collect that. And something I encourage people to do is look at your Mercury when you're doing spell work and see, say you take a spell from someone else, infuse whatever the element is, whatever the quality is. So I'm a fire Mercury. I will be doing spell jar from B, the Zine Witch, and there is a candle element, but I'm going to be adding another fire element into it. There's a written element into the spell jar. Do that. If you're a water person, maybe you add some kind of, maybe the honey is the liquid because that's what a honey jar is, or maybe you add some moon water. So just work within the element of your Mercury. It really will help amplify that spell work. And I missed one of them. Who did I miss? Oh, and earth. Add dirt. If you have houseplants, take a little bit of their dirt, sprinkle it in. Those babies are here for you, and they are a part of your spirit group. I have tons of little plant babies all around me, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of their dirt to this magic because they are my favorites, and I take care of them, and they take care of me. Anyways, my loves, this is all that I have for you. I wish you every blessing. I wish you every delusion. I wish you every dream and hope and joy. And I will see you in a different space and time. Blessed new moon in Cancer.